Exercise 7, Oxford. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the history of Oxford. Oxford has been a town for many centuries. The first written records of its existence date from before 912. Oxford University began to establish itself in the middle of the 12th century, and by 1300 there were already 1,500 students. At this time, Oxford was a wealthy town, but by the middle of the 14th century it was poorer because of a decline in trade and because of the terrible plague, which killed many people in England. Relations between the students and the townspeople were very unfriendly, and there was often fighting in the streets. On the 10th of February, 1355, a battle began which lasted 2 days. 62 students were killed. The townspeople were punished for this. One of the punishments was that the university was given control of the town for nearly 600 years. Nowadays, there are about 12,000 students in Oxford, and the university and the town live happily side by side. The Oxford English Dictionary is well known to students of English everywhere. It contains approximately 5 million entries, and there are 13 volumes, including a supplement. Some of the words are special Oxford words. For example, bulldog in Oxford is the name given to university policemen who wear bowler hats and sometimes patrol the streets at night. They are very fast runners. Punt is a word often used in both Oxford and Cambridge. It refers to a flat-bottomed boat with sloping ends, which is moved by pushing a long pole in the water.
Exercise 8. Controlling concentration.
Good morning, Susan. Come in.
Good morning, Alan.
What can I do for you?
I've come for some advice. I'm a first-year student. I want to know how to control my concentration to study.
That's a good question. I think you can improve your concentration by identifying and eliminating internal and external distractions.
What's an internal distraction?
Internal distractions are physical feelings that you can take control of since they originate within you. External distractions may be beyond your control, but you can learn to control your reactions to them.
But how?
To minimize internal and external distractions, you can take care of your physical needs before beginning a task. Maintain a positive attitude towards studying, and you can work to solve problems that you know cause you worry and stress.
Yes, go on.
You can improve your concentration by having a good place to study. The ideal home or dorm study environment is as distraction-free as you can make it.
That's true. I can make it into a nice study place.
You can choose a quiet location with adequate lighting. Select comfortable furniture suited to your needs. Keep your books and supplies readily available so you don't have to interrupt your studying to find them. Prominently display motivational aids, such as a calendar, weekly and semester or quarter plans, or assignments on which you have made good grades.
I understand. I should find a nice and comfortable study place before I start to study.
You are right. And how you study can also affect your concentration. Use your time efficiently. Break large tasks into smaller ones. Study similar subjects at different times. Take frequent breaks. Reward yourself for work accomplished. By the way, do you share your textbooks with other students?
No, I have my own textbooks.
That's good. Otherwise, you will be influenced by what another student thought if the book is underlined or highlighted by others.
Thank you very much. I'll try the methods you have mentioned.
Good luck.
Okay, bye. Exercise 9, Computing Service. Excuse me, could you tell me where the university computer lab is?
Are you a new student?
Yes, I'm a first-year student. I want to use a computer to type my assignment.
I see. Our university provides the most up-to-date computing environment of any college or university in Britain. There are 2 labs dedicated to student access. No classes are scheduled in them, so you can drop in any time when they are open.
Do you know where these 2 labs are?
Yes. One is in room 114 in building 315, and the other one is in room 110 in building 335. There are 27 computers in each one.
Only 27 are in each one. Are there any other labs I can use if these 2 labs are full?
Yes, we own 6 general-purpose labs, which often have classes booked in them, but they are available for drop-in use when classes are not in session. Check the lab before you go in. This schedule is updated every week.
I saw the brochure in the Students' Union. It said that there are at least 19 labs on campus.
Yes, there are 11 other large labs on campus, but they have dedicated uses of various kinds and are not usually available for general use.
Do you know if there are any rules in the labs?
Yes, we do have some rules.
What are they?
Let me think about them. Yes, the first, labs and computer equipment are provided only for registered students to do work associated with their courses.
I see. So we have to use our ID card when we get into the lab.
That's right. You should put your student ID card in the holder on top of the monitor and show proper identification if requested to do so. Second, computers are a limited resource shared among many students, so please respect the needs of others. When all computers are in constant use, please limit your session on the computer to an hour at a time.
Can we reserve computers?
I'm sorry, you may not reserve computers. When you leave the lab for a coffee break, you must save your work and make the computer available for another student to use.
I see. Can I bring some drinks there?
Absolutely no food or drink in the labs.
Are there any printers there?
Yes, of course. But remember, when you print, please limit printing to 1 copy of a document. And please do not start printing less than 10 minutes before the lab closes.
Thank you very much. This helps me a lot. Exercise 10, English letter writing.
Hi, Lucy. Shall we go to swim after school?
I'd like to, but I have to reply to my English teacher's letter. She has gone to America.
You mean Susan?
Yes.
Why did she go back home? There are still some weeks left before the vacation.
Her father died of cancer a week ago, and so she had to go back for her father's funeral.
I see. I'm sorry to hear that. Lucy, do you have any time now?
Yes, Tom. What can I do for you?
I want to write a letter to my friend Bob. He went back to England yesterday and left his address for me, but I'm not sure how to write it.
Okay. You know, English letter writing is different from Chinese writing. You should write your address in the top right-hand corner and write the date immediately below your address. Today is the 28th of March, 2002, so you should write the date below your address.
That's really so different. We usually write the sender's address at the bottom of the letter, or write it on the left corner of the envelope.
Yes, that's right. Remember, don't write your name before your address.
Where shall I write my name?
You should write it at the end of the letter.
I see.
Then you should write the recipient's name and address on the left-hand side of the page.
So I should write Bob's name and his address on the left-hand side?
Yes, that is the formal way when you write business letters or official letters. But you don't need to write Bob's name and his address in an informal letter.
Okay. What else?
You must use Dear Sir or Dear Madam only when you don't know the person's name.
How do I begin when I write to Bob?
You should use his name directly. In the custom of English letter writing, don't begin with Dear Friend.
I see. After that, I can start my writing. Is that right?
Yes, you should begin the letter on the left-hand side, a little way inside the margin. At the end of your letter, write a short final sentence on a separate line.
What should I write for the last sentence?
Usually, people write like this: I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon, or I hope to hear from you soon. Then end with Yours faithfully if you began with Dear Sir or Madam. In formal letters, if you begin with Dear Mr. X, you should end with Yours sincerely.
I see. Don't use Dear Sir or Madam with Yours sincerely, or Dear Mr. X with Yours faithfully. But what shall I use for Bob's letter?
You can use yours, best wishes, or love in informal letters depending on how well you know the person.
Thank you very much for the help.
With pleasure. I have to go now. See you soon.
Goodbye. Exercise 11. How to become a confident student.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our regular lecture on college study issues. This series of lectures is organized by the International Students Office. We want to help you, the students of this university, to cope well with the study and social life here. This series of lectures is designed to help you discover the ways in which you learn most easily and most enjoyably, and help you define your own goals and preferences as you embark on your college career and look ahead to life and work in the future. It includes discussions, illustrations, and easy-to-understand suggestions on ways to develop all the skills you will need to perform well in your classes and build confidence in your ability to learn. Some lectures will contain many ideas for strengthening a particular skill, but you can try out as many ideas as you like for studying. And also, you can adapt the ideas in the lectures to suit your own needs and personal learning style. Many students want to know how to be a confident student. It's a good question. Strategies for becoming a confident and successful student include making use of the 4 keys to success in college discussed in this lecture. 1. To assess your academic strengths and weaknesses. 2. To discover and use your learning style. 3. To sharpen your thinking and study skills. 4. to adapt to others' styles. Let's talk about the first one. To assess your academic strengths and weaknesses means to be realistic about what you are able to do. This will help you select courses in which you can succeed. This is the most important key when you enter college. The second key is to discover and use your learning style. This is another important key to your success. Use your 5 senses to help you take in information accurately and remember what you learn. Let your body's reactions tell you when you are most alert. Then try to plan your schedule accordingly. Know which learning environment you prefer, but be willing to adapt to others. Increase your level of motivation by developing an internal focus of control. A third key to your success in college is your effort to develop critical thinking and study skills. Making decisions, solving problems, using creativity, processing information, and reasoning logically are critical thinking skills involved in studying. All the important study skills you will need to develop or improve, such as how to take notes, listen effectively, read with greater comprehension, and prepare for and take tests, are covered in the next lectures. The fourth key is your willingness to adapt to your instructor's teaching styles. If you make an honest effort to learn, no matter how an instructor approaches a subject, then you will make efficient use of class time and develop good relations with your instructors.
Exercise 12. About language learning. Hi, Susan. How are you getting on with your English studies?
It's hard. I have been in England for a year, but I still have a lot of problems both in speaking and reading.
Don't worry. You have to be patient and practice them more.
It's very strange, my son Eric, he is only 4, but he seems to learn English much more quickly than I do. Why is this? Why is it easy for young children to learn a language?
That's a good question. I think part of the answer is that children have so many needs. They need to be helped by grown-ups. They have to make their needs known. And they are always watching the effect of what they say and trying new ways of getting what they want. Children are learning new things all the time.
I agree with you. We adults need to learn new things as well, especially when we settle in a foreign country. But it takes us a longer time to get used to a new life than young children. They seem to adapt more quickly.
Yes. Another part of the answer I'd like to point out is that children are not, as older people sometimes are, fixed in their ways of living. When they are taken from one country to another, they change easily from one language to another, from one bed to another, from one food to another. Older people are more fixed in their ways. They have been hearing and talking one language for a long time. Their ways of hearing and making sounds and of putting words together are like the rails a train goes on. They have been up and down their lines of talk and thought too many times to change them easily.
I quite agree with you. A child is freer in his ways. He is more like a bird. He is free to go in any direction he wants. He is free to hear sounds as they are and make them as he hears them. He is free to put new words together in new ways in speaking a new language.
I think that is why they learn things so fast. The more languages you hear and get to know, the more you will see how any language is made up of a small number of sounds put together in different ways. For example, in English, light and right are different words with only one sound in them different. The same is true of long and wrong. If a learner does not hear these different sounds as different, he may get the wrong meaning.
That's true. I have had this kind of problem. 6 months ago, I was asking the way to the station. The man told me to turn to the right, but what I thought he said was to turn at the light, so I tried to find the light. It took me hours to get to the station.
I'm sorry to hear that. You know, most people learn their mother language without being able to give any account at all of how it works. They learn to talk as they learn to walk, without any idea of how they do it. People who learn to use a language well do so through talking with others who use it well, through reading good writers, and through watching the effects on others of what they say and how they say it.
I will try all these. The world needs more people who can use languages well. Language is as necessary to our minds as the air we breathe is to our bodies.
Exercise 13. How to take notes.
Today's discussion is on note-taking. Note-taking is one of the important skills for classroom success. There is no one best way to take notes, but your own experience and some suggestions may help you to cope well with university study here. Chris, you start first. How do you take notes when you are in class?
I always keep track of the notes by putting a date and heading on the first page, and numbering pages that follow. And I often make sure to identify the lecture topic and the class in which the lecture takes place. I think this is very important because when you study later, you will be able to match up class notes and textbook notes or assignments on the same topic.
I do the same. I often keep the notes for one class separated from the notes for other classes, so I use separate notebooks for each class.
I use dividers to set aside different sections in one notebook.
I think both of the methods are good. Some students like to use a loose-leaf binder so that lecture notes, textbook notes, and the instructor's handout may be taken out of it and reorganized for study purposes.
That's a good idea, to use a loose-leaf binder. I will buy one for my note-taking. I like to use a ballpoint pen for taking notes.
So do I, but I prefer to use blue or black ones because the other colors, such as red or green, are hard on the eyes.
It's a good idea to use a ballpoint pen because pencils fade easily, and a pen sometimes blurs and soaks through the paper.
My handwriting is poor, so I often print the notes for clarity after class.
That's a very good way to do it. It's very important to make your notes clear to read because you may use them for your essay.
I often use standard abbreviations in my notes in order to speed up note-taking. For example, intro for introduction, info for information, dept for department.
This is one way to speed up your writing. You can also make up some of your own words or phrases that you use often. Make a key for your abbreviations so you won't forget what they mean.
Okay, I will try next time.
I often copy anything that is written on the board or on overhead transparencies into my notes because I find test questions often come from material that is presented in these ways.
Really? I hadn't noticed that.
I think you'd better organize your notes after class. Try to summarize the points in your own words. It will be easier for you to remember your notes.
That is a good suggestion.
Another suggestion is that you should review your notes to fill in gaps while the information is still fresh in your mind. The purpose of taking notes is to help you remember information.
When I seem to be missing something, I often compare notes with my classmate or see the instructor.
That's the way to do it. Thank you very much for your time. I think new students may use and adapt some of your good methods for note-taking into their own study.
Exercise 14. The Dean's Speech.
Good morning, students. As many of you have already heard, tuition fees will be going up to $3,600 per term, starting in September 2001. I felt I should explain to you why the fees are increasing. The primary reason is, of course, that expenses have increased, including faculty's and staff salaries. Our operating expenses have also increased in the past year. As we try to maintain a high level of service to our international students, we have added new staff in the last year to meet the growing needs, including a manager of admissions. We have also expanded our homestay staff to improve our homestay services. Unfortunately, when expenses increase, the costs have to be passed on to the student. This is the first increase in fees since 1998, however, and we are trying to keep the fees as reasonable as possible. To compare our fees with other institutions in the province, the University College of the Cariboo is raising its fees to $3,800 per semester starting in September 2001. Programs at UBC start at $13,830 per year. At many institutions, the tuition fees for academic courses in the third and fourth year level are higher than those for the first 2 years are, because the costs to run the courses are higher. We have decided not to differentiate the fees, but to balance the costs by charging the same tuition for all 4 years. I would like to tell you that we value your opinion and want to make sure that you are satisfied as a student at the college. If any of you would like to meet with me to discuss the fees or any other matter, you are welcome to visit me in my office in Building 359. Please phone 741-2795 for an appointment.
Exercise 15. How to write a summary. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to write a summary. I think if you remember one word, it will help you to write a summary. The word is simple. This word represents 6 steps to writing a good summary. Simple's first letter is S. S here stands for the first step you should do. That is, to study the text carefully. And letter I here stands for the second step, to identify the key points while you read the text. M here represents the third step of writing a summary. That is, to make notes. Then the fourth one is to put points in order. The next step is to leave out unnecessary detail. The last step is to edit your first draft. Now, I will talk about these steps one by one. Let us start with studying the text. When you get an article, you should read it first fairly quickly to get a sense of the general meaning. Then, read it more carefully, following the writer's argument and noticing what is fact and what is opinion, what is a general statement, and what is a particular example. It is often helpful to summarize each paragraph in a few words at this stage. Now, let's turn to identifying the key points. You must go through the text and mark the places where important information is given. You can underline or highlight with a colored pen or simply make a mark in the margin. The third step is to make notes. This is a very important stage. You should write down the key points you've identified in note form in your own words. This is also especially important in an exam because the examiner needs to know you understand what you have written and that you are not just copying from the text. Let's turn to the fourth step, to put points in order. You should look at the list of points you have made and see if there are any which go together. Then decide the best order to put the points in. Number the points in order. Now, let's look at the next stage. Leave out unnecessary detail. This stage is much like the tailor who cuts off unnecessary parts for making clothes. You should choose the important facts and get rid of unnecessary detail. The last stage is to edit your first draft. You should check the spelling and grammar, counting the number of words. If you have many fewer than the limit, you should add in something, so it is important to check the original text again. If you have more than the limit, look for ways of combining points in one sentence or of losing words here and there. If you follow the word simple, it may help you to make a good summary in an academic essay.